often than not, women find it very easy to share and open up about what's going on in their lives. Men don't. In every 10 depressed persons, 6 are men. Because men don't easily open up about the challenges, struggles, and issues facing their day-to-day lives. And that's why today we are focusing on the Trapped Men edition. This is Dichol Uncensored. So to start us off today, we have with us an amazing friend of mine. I mean, it's such a privilege to have him on set. He has a really tight schedule. This guy is a sought-after versatile MC. He is a reggae roots gospel artist. He is a minister, a young pastor, a father, and of course, a friend of mine. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Mike Meso Opio. Mike Meso is on set with us today.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Thank you for coming. Thank
Asante.
you for coming. I know it took an arm and a leg to have you here, but you are here.
By the grace of God, I'm here.
So tell us about yourself.
Well, Mike Meso is, of course, my name.
Yes,
Born in a polygamous family. Growing up was very challenging because you see, the first man who married my mother was a Muslim. My father now, who came in after the man died, was a Catholic. So religiously we came from different background. Growing up in primary school and coming from a poverty-driven family, you know, trying to fend for the family and go to school. And I had this Swahili teacher whom I also had a crush on.
Wait, you had a crush on your teacher?
On my class teacher, who was also my fan. By that time I was not born again. So then after the year 2001, I gave my life to Christ. Okay. Started ministry now, doing gospel music, where God called me to minister through roots reggae music. So that's what I'm doing. And then of course, concerning my family, I never even thought I would get married, by the way. And now I had this desire to get married. No one has ever done a wedding in my entire family. How old were you when you had the desire to get married? I was in my 20s. Like how old? 20? I was 21 years old.
21?
Yeah, 21.
And then you went ahead and got married, or you started with
No,
dating?
I started with, of course, dating, joining ministry, and I met this pretty girl in choir, you know. She was pretty and looked very classy. Coming from the ghetto, you know, I didn't know that I would even talking to this lady was a miracle. Wow. And then by the time I was now 27, I got married at the age of 27, actually. Did you court for 6 years? No, we were just buddies, but real courtship was 1 year. Wow. Because we were already buddies, so we kind of knew each other. But the intentional dating was 1 year. We know how courtship is challenging a bit for young people, especially who are born again. You know, you're not supposed to touch your partner until the marriage night or the wedding night. How was it for you too? Having a bad boy background, I think when I dated my wife, the first person I told her I was in a relationship was my choir director, because I am this social guy. I want to be with my woman, you know. After the ministry, you know, you have to have personal touch. Chill out. So I tell the director of music, so that those questions that comes in, I've been seeing you guys together. What is the cooking? So I had to tell the director this is what is cooking. So it was tricky. It was tricky. Accountability was very important. Of course, meeting in open places, because we are flesh and blood. You cannot meet someone in one room, and especially the person you love, it is tricky for you to remain celibate. You know. So were you celibate until the wedding night? We never got down until the honeymoon night. It never went down. It never went down until. Oh, wow, that's a powerful testimony. Yeah, it never went down. Yeah. When you got into marriage. Yeah. Actually, the wedding process. The wedding process, and then now I got into marriage, and what the picture I had of marriage is not what I was taught in premarital classes and what I got into, because marriage is a reality, and I think my past followed me. Wow. And that is why now, after getting into my marriage, I made one of the most terrible mistakes. Let's come back to your past following you. What is this past? I was being a former dancehall reggae artist. You know, if you watch all dancehall artists, you have to have women around you. You know, with secular music, there has to be some babes around you. And so these babes, spiritually, let me say, this attitude followed me in the church, in salvation, because what I was doing in the past was what I was supposed to do when I gave my life to Christ. I was supposed to continue doing music. Yeah. And I was still going to work with men and women. Yeah. But you see, now from the women's side, that is where now I got caught up in this web, and I committed adultery. Hold on. So you came from a background where you had women,
yes,
booze, it's a party,
yeah,
it's lit.
It's a party.
And then you come to church and it's not like that. Of course,
yeah,
it's lit,
yeah,
but it's not lit in that way. You have to restrain, you know, and
yeah,
refrain from
there has to be
things.
boundaries. Yeah.
And then you get into marriage. Did you feel like at some point you still were drawn to some of these things like partying, women, flirting, it's lit kind of attitude? Did you feel that sometimes in marriage you felt drawn to some of these things?
Yeah, I think my main challenge was kind of trying to balance the husband in me and me, so the artist. And I think the artist is where now I got into trouble, because I put the artist part of me took over the husband in me.
Wow.
So the artist now what made me now, the artist part of me is what now made me now to get into this unnecessary trouble.
What are some of the things that, as an artist, you did that you felt were not right?
Not involving my wife in my major decisions and in my activities, because it's all in the context of the gospel. When you're going to minister somewhere, you're a married man, it is always advised for you to go with your wife. If it is necessary. There are some places that are not necessary, but it is encouraged that you go with your wife to create that accountability and also to protect yourself from yourself, because you know, apart from the devil, you need to protect yourself from yourself. I know this is a trapped man edition,
yes.
So as a trapped man, I got in an atmosphere where I was supposed to protect myself from myself, and myself, what I mean by myself is my former self, because I was used to the life of, you know, having women around me, and here now I am now designed to commit to one woman. And my career is involved. So that thing is what put me into trouble and ended up committing adultery, which is one of the terrible mistakes I've ever made in my life. Winnie is to be unfaithful to my wife.
So paint us a picture of what really triggered that. How you didn't just wake up and this took place. What led to that?
I think during our early stages of marriage, we had necessary conflicts that now ended up giving birth to what I call unnecessary conflict. And during that time, communication breakdown was massive in our marriage. And that's when now, because being an event organizer and an MC and an artist in the line of my work, I got comfort into the shoulder of a certain woman who was my friend, also in the same industry. And she seemed to have understood the challenges I was going through and the nature of my work. So through us being close and without creating boundaries, that is when now I ended up having sex with her, committing adultery, of course.
How did you have sex with her? I would like to know. Was it one-off after an event,
it was after a series of events we had done, and then one night we had an event that we had an after party. And we couldn't go home because I was also tired, you know, going back to trouble. You get it.
There's no peace at home.
There's no peace at home. There's nothing I'm looking forward to. Because as a man, you see, as a married man, when you after doing work, you always look forward to go to your wife, to your family.
That's right.
But in my context, you know, there was nothing that I could look forward to. And so that's when we got down. And then I had sex with her. I committed adultery, and that is one of the most terrible mistakes I have ever made, or a married man like me can ever make.
How did you feel right after that?
The kind of guilt I had, I think, was in master's level.
Wow.
Because, you know, I was now tossed in between either to face my wife or to cover it. Wow. And that's why I keep on saying that the Bible says that whoever covers his sins will not prosper, but he who confess, he will have mercy and prosperity. So I had a choice to cover my sins, which is adultery, which I committed, or to face my wife and tell her, you know what, baby, this is the result that came out of the conflict I had with you. I have made a terrible mistake. So I gathered courage after a day after, faced my wife, and what was in my mind is that I'm going to share this with my wife. If she wants to leave me, it is well.
So you shared with her?
I shared with my wife.
What was her reaction?
Definitely her reaction was that bad. Her reaction was that bad, and she was justified to react the way she reacted.
What did she do?
She left. She packed her things and left. I was marriageless.
Wow.
She left to her village, and I got more confused because the way I was brought up in marital counseling, I was
I'm never to share my marital issues with people. Even facing my best couple, whom I really appreciate, who has really helped me, my best couple did a good work. Facing them was difficult, but I had to face them. And we faced them. We had a meeting, actually a board meeting with my wife and this woman involved and with the chairman of my committee. But at that time, I didn't know that this woman was actually pregnant for me.
Wait, one sex incident?
Yes.
Resulting to pregnancy?
Yes.
Okay.
So this woman was pregnant to me, which I realized after we had met in this board, we had this meeting with my wife, my best couple, and the chairman of my committee. I knew this lady was pregnant for me after the meeting, because she called me aside and told me, you know what, before you go back with your wife, because I was to go back with my wife and their son. We sat in one of the tails around here over a drink, and she shared with me, and I took responsibility.
How? First, before you took responsibility, yes. You're a Christian man.
Yes.
The first thing that goes on in your head is like, oh my God, there's no way I'm having a baby out of wedlock. It's okay to have sex because no one saw that.
Yes.
But a baby, everybody will see.
Yes.
So how did you react to that news of, oh my God, I'm going to have a baby? Did you want to abort, or what did you opt for?
Because of the values that have been instilled in me, I was taught to take responsibility. Because whatever sin you commit, it has consequences. And pregnancy is like truth, you cannot hide it. So I had to take responsibility, because I am a pastor by calling, I am a worship leader, I am a gospel minister. God has enabled me to operate in those that what I call versatile grace. You get it? So people look up to me. What will happen if someone hears that this pastor or this man of God impregnated this woman and then was even advising the woman to abort? Where will I stand?
Interesting. So did you have the baby?
Yes, we had the baby. We had the baby. You know, I bless God for the fruit of the womb. The woman gave birth to a beautiful girl, and I thank God I thank God that I have a girl now. So I have a boy with my wife and I have a girl with another woman, and I respect that woman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you came home and told your wife that, you know, we expect another baby.
Wow.
I'm sure she didn't say, praise the Lord, at least there's another baby and I didn't give birth to her. I didn't go through labor pains. She must have given you a different reaction.
Let me say that the news of me having a baby out of wedlock actually made things worse. This time round again, my wife left.
Girl, you be leaving. Okay.
You know, the first one was adultery. By the grace of God and my best couple and a good friend of mine who is also a pastor, and I know you know him, helped me, you know, prayerfully to bring the woman back because of the first instance, which is adultery.
Now this second
one is now adding insult to injury, whatever it may. Now this time round, even going back to these other people, because at this time my best couple doesn't know that I have a baby, but he is aware that I committed adultery.
That's right.
This other pastor friend knows that I committed adultery.
Period.
Baby news.
No.
They're not aware. Going back to them was difficult. So I had to face my wife and I say, I will face you, you will know, and my mother has to know, your parents has to know that I have a baby out of wedlock. I am not married to two women. I only have a baby with this woman, and I respect her. Of course, it was difficult from both families.
And then now, your wife came back.
And now my wife came back. Fortunately, a lawyer friend of mine, God has to use a lawyer friend of mine who is now married, who helped me now to go to my wife's village. I had to go and humble myself and accept the blame, because I want to tell you, Winnie, that is one of the most terrible mistake I've ever made, is to be unfaithful to my wife. I know marriages have challenges, but to me as Mike Meso, it is the most terrible mistake I've ever made in my life, is to be unfaithful to my wife.
That's right.
So as a man, I was trapped. I was a trapped man, trapped in the web of adultery, because I did not put the communication breakdown was part of it, and I didn't put boundaries.
And you didn't deal with your past.
I didn't deal with my past.
Such as we are born again, but there are aspects that we have to go through series of deliverance.
Yes.
That to get us out of the past,
exactly,
of our generational curses and our generational norms, and just our family setups. And now you're here, your wife is back.
Yes.
How did the church treat the news that you were an adulterer and then you have a baby out of your marriage?
I will be balanced in my response. Some people in the church condemned me, judged me, dismissed me. But just like in any other church, there are always good people in every church. And I want to thank God for my pastors. I respect them, I honor them, they helped me. But there's a group of people, of course, who are, like I said, were judgmental. So I want to thank God for my church, for my best couple, specifically my best couple, and my pastor friend who really helped me. For the sake of the show, I won't mention his name, but he really helped me. I know he will be watching this video, and I really want to thank God for you, man of God. Yeah. You really worked with me as a brother. Yeah, so there are people in the church who condemned me and judged me, and that is what made me now to withdraw from the church, because the atmosphere around in the church where I fellowshiped was not conducive.
What are some of the things people would say?
People called me an immoral, proud, arrogant, disobedient, because they felt that I should have gone to them. The fact I didn't go to them to share my issue, they felt that since I didn't give them an audience, because they felt they're the ones who are qualified to save me, to help me my marriage. So they termed me rebellious, arrogant, and these are not small people. These are people I'm supposed to be calling my elders. These are guys I'm supposed to be looking up to. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so these are elderly people that were doing this, people that I'm supposed to run to, and that really I really got wounded by that.
So lastly, you went through a period where you were just lost. You were broken, you were shattered, you were hurt deeply, you were depressed.
Yes.
For how long did you go through this period, and how did you bounce back? Because that is the challenge, bouncing back.
Prayer is very important. Prayer is very important. I used to pray a lot. And I remember one night I walk out of my house and I talked, in our Hebrew language, and I told God that, God, only you can help me. I need my life back. It was very difficult for me. I was lonely, I was broken, I was depressed. Prayer is very important. I don't know about friends, but I know about depending on God. So if there is anyone who has gone through what I've gone through, is that depend on God, because only God can help you. And just to say something, I really want to thank my wife for giving me the permission to share this, because you see, this is not an information that you can just share anyhow. My wife gave me the permission to be in this show and to share this so that others can get inspired, encouraged, and motivated to know that faithfulness is possible.
You can screw up.
Yes.
You can mess up, but you can fix this.
Yes.
And that is what salvation is about.
Yes.
It's not about perfect people.
Yes.
It's about people that sometimes get broken to the ground and bounce back. And did this change your worldview, your perception on the church, your perception on marriage even? Did this change your worldview to what?
For the church, I got disappointed, because I realized that I was almost now, being that I've been in the world before, I thought there was more love in the world than in the church, because what I got was hatred and being called names.
Right.
So I will not lie to you that my picture of the church was still intact. I am flesh and blood, I'm human. What I went through is very depressing, and my testimony of the church was compromised, shifted.
And you are, and lastly on marriage. Now, what now after all this, what is marriage to you? Because there's this and there's what you learned in premarital class.
I would say that marriage is work that works. If you don't work, you don't put work in your marriage, you have nothing to harvest. If you don't plant kindness, you can't harvest kindness. If you don't plant purity, you won't plant purity. So anybody that wants to get married, marriage is an empty garden that you must come with the seeds that you want to harvest. If you come with bitter seeds, you will harvest bitter seeds.
Wow, so that has been quite some intense time with Mike Meso here, sharing about his intimate marital challenges and issues that he went through, but he overcame. We are glad that he went down, but he was able to bounce back. So some of the interesting lessons we picked out from Meso's story, the fact that you can actually go into courtship and be celibate until married, that is something that is very outstanding. A lot of young people struggle with that, but Meso here showed us that it is possible. And getting into marriage with an idea of marriage, things change. You get in there and you realize, wow, there's more to it than premarital counseling. There's more to it than books and newspapers and magazines. So that was really powerful, and I'm hoping to have another episode about something close to this. See you soon. This is Dichol Uncensored.